on to the next item on the docket. The next item on the docket, y'all, is Porsha, and Simon. Now, Porsha, congratulations to Miss Porsha. Here we go. Porsha, it states Porsha has won the prenup battle over ex Simon Giovanni. The court disagreed with Simon and ruled there's no evidence to support fraud, duress, mistake, misrepresentation, or non-disclosure of facts that took place during negotiation. Blah, 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 blah. What the hell does that mean? Okay, I'm about to tell you. Here's what really down. Get comfortable. I'm gonna get comfortable. Girl's about to be juicy and messy. And I got the documents. I've got the documents. Okay. We're going to start with this man's immigration documents, okay, because it goes into it. So let me tell you what the court really said. Somebody said, Miss AKA said, is this Scammers Edition, baby? Today it is, okay? This is the Scammer Edition. I think it is. It says, I'm going to read a few comments and we're going to get back into it. Again, don't forget, SimoneRedwine.com is my page where you can schedule a consult with me anywhere in the nation, 30 minutes, $149. Also, don't forget, if you want to hit the little tip jar, Miss Redwine has been a little cash up. I really appreciate it. It helps me deliver more consistent content. So basically, we need to line up all the scammers. All right. So where do I start? All right. Now, the ultimate ruling that is most relevant here is that Simons was attempting to get the prenup set aside. And he was attempting to get all this information from Porsha with which to embarrass her. Simon even subpoenaed the TV network that produces Real Housewives, Truly Entertainment or what have you, subpoenaed them for a deposition, sent them notice. They were going to have to sit down at deposition and disclose Porsha's income, any talks of her coming back, blah, 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 blah. And the court said, order. No, stupid. We're not giving you this information because we about sick of you. You trifling, and we know it. We can tell all you doing here is trying to drive her crazy through this litigation. You're ringing it in the court. You're filing all this stuff. You're doing all this stuff in violation of the prenup that you negotiated, Mr. Simon, for 1 year, and we not have it anymore. That is effectively, in layman's terms, and regular people, what the court said. I'm going to tell it to you, I'm going to show it to you, and I'm going to tell you why. Now, first of all, I have to say, don't come over here if you are looking for something unbiased. It's unbiased with respect to, I'm putting the documents on the page. You can read, I can read. We're all free people of color. They let us read now. Read them for yourself, and you're welcome to get your own opinion. But I'm going to tell you right now, from the beginning of this, it was all sketchy to me because of how it started from the perspective of Simon's immigration issues. Now, I never trusted Simon either because Simon looked just like this water bug that I used to have in my granny's house, okay? It was this water bug. It always just come out and it would scare me, okay? And it would scare me for no reason. I'd be minding my business, sitting on the floor, watching Jim and the Holograms in my granny house, and then this little water bug come crawling out looking just like Simon. I named him Malachi because I thought Malachi sounded like the name of a slave that wouldn't run away. And this water bug, which was probably really a roach, but my granny called it a water bug because I thought it made her feel better about not being able to get rid of her roaches. Looks and reminds me like Simon. So anytime I think of Simon, I think of water bugs. And I don't like them, and I don't like him, and there's something wrong going on there. So to start off with this, that was a sidebar. We're going to get back to the facts. This all started, we got a super chat. Thank you, Mama Mighty. This is why he said Jen is going to handle all the marital finances. Girl, absolutely. This is exactly why she's talking about Christian. Yeah, I feel like Christian could be setting Jen up for going down for some of his offenses. I would be shocked if he didn't have certain money flowing through bank accounts that have her name on it, which could be wire fraud and among other issues. So yeah, it does not surprise me that he said he wanted her to handle the finances because it could completely set her up for a downfall. We also have another super chat from, thank you so much. Millionaire Nose Coach. She said, I knew it. They got married without getting married. Maybe Jen is not as dumb as she looks. She knew about the scamming. Tell her to hit me up for some non-scammy business consulting. All right, hit up the Millionaire Nurse Coach for non-scammy coaching. Alteria, someone in the chat said her family didn't even go. I saw that too. Hey, Alteria, and your picture looks beautiful. Oh, and thanks, Miss V, for becoming a new member. All right, we are going to go back to this. So you guys, I'm setting up. Here's how Porsha's divorce came about. Now, we all saw there was like this weird ass whirlwind romance. Like a month into them dating, he proposes. Whenever we see that, we know it's something wrong with this mofo. Okay. Same people I don't care how pretty you think you are. I don't care how good and sweet you think your little buttercup is. Okay. Nobody with sense is going to propose within a month unless they have a problem that marrying you can solve. And we're going to get to that. Here, I believe that problem for Simon is citizenship. Why? Because in January of this year, an immigration court entered an order that basically said Simon is not legal in this country. They will not give him status as a permanent citizen. They do not care that his big black water bug behind has been here for over 30 years, some of which was scamming people. They said, no, they're not giving him they're not giving him status. But more importantly, Porsha had no idea that Simon to this day is illegally in the United States. She had no idea that her husband did not have legal status to be here. Why? Because what happened is when he initially came over here in the 80s, he did so on like a student visa. He came over and then he came first, I think, on a travel visa. This petition, it states that he first entered the U.S. August 11th, 1982. Then he overstayed his visa. And in 1985, INS denied his application for an adjustment of status. Adjustment meaning he wanted to go from a visitor to permanent. They said, no, you didn't follow the rules. He was then declared deportable and he voluntarily left the United States in 85. So then what does Simon do? It fast forwards some more. He then tries to marry a girl. He marries a woman and thinks, oh, I'm going to marry this woman and get status from the marriage. That was the second attempt. The footnote here reads, petitioner's adjustment of status application in 85 was based on his marriage, which the agency deemed was a sham, okay? Because the man likes to lie. It was a sham because of statements by his spouse that the two of them had not resided together and the marriage was never consummated. Anybody knows Simon knows he likes to do it to people, women specifically. Simon likes to do it to women. So you mean to tell me he's married to this woman? This was the height, this was the height of his horny years. Okay. He was in his 20s and he never did it to her, not even once. No, INS saw it for what it was. Then it jumps on down and then it says basically he re-entered the United States in 86 and again overstayed a 6-month visitor visa. Then in 87, petitioner was arrested for bank and credit card fraud and pleaded guilty to a felony offense. He was arrested in January of 89 for unauthorized use of a vehicle and again in May 1990 for fraud. Thereafter, they began his removal proceedings. In January of 91, he committed another felony. And then in April of 91, an immigration judge held a hearing and ordered him to be deported again. In 1992, the petitioner was deported and physically removed from the U.S. So then what does he do then? He steals the identity of a sharecropper. Specifically, it says before his removal in August of 1998, he uses a different identity to seek temporary resident status under the agricultural worker program, basically the sharecropper program. Okay. He did not include his criminal history on the application. And when it was approved, he was given a registration card as a temporary resident. And as part of the immigration benefits, his temporary resident status was automatically converted to permanent resident status. He received permanent residency card April 27th of 1992 after he had already been deported under his other undisclosed identity. So not the second identity, let's see. So then that new identity that he's using, basically, it didn't include his criminal record, and he changed up his name a little bit. He didn't use his exact name. That is how come it took the government forever to figure out these two people were the same. Then it says December of 2016, petitioner applied for naturalization under his second identity and was denied because his temporary resident status was unlawfully granted. In other words, fraudulently granted, he used fraudulent information. Then in 2022, he filed another application for naturalization, meaning an application to become a permanent U.S. citizen, correction. Following an interview, he was again denied. They explained he was ineligible because he had not been lawfully admitted for permanent residency. His temporary resident status was achieved through the SAW program and benefits and had been based on a different identity and disqualifying criminal inadmissibility that was willfully, intentionally conceived. So then, October of 2022, just before they're getting married, the petitioner, Simon, requested a hearing on the decision. It was affirmed. Then again in 2023. Let me say this. On October 24th, petitioner requested a hearing on the decision. They reaffirmed his denial of the application November 15th, 2022. Y'all, that was a week before his marriage to Porsha. In other words, he knew good and well he was not legally in the United States. He had tried multiple times to stay. The court said no. So then he's made another attempt here in 2024, at the beginning of January, to file these documents to get the court to change their mind. And they're like, no, Waterbug. You can't. Why is he trying to stay here so bad? Good question. The truth is the truth. Thank you, Skylife. The truth is the truth. So now I'm going to put instead the divorce documents that Porsha has filed. So remember, the other document was dated January 11th, where the court, the immigration court, ordered that he needed to, let me pull this down, that he needed to get the hell out of here, okay? That he could not stay. And then the divorce petition, let me see if the date's on here. The divorce petition that Porsha filed, she actually filed that in February. So she filed it not even a full, I think it was about a month later, but Porsha files for divorce. So I want to be clear. A large part of her filing for divorce was finding out that he, Simon, was not who he said he was going to be. Specifically, she felt unsafe in that, any day now, this man's going to have to go and he's not going to be allowed back into America. Also, more than likely, the reason for marrying her was to stay in the United States. So Porsha likely felt that she was scammed. Because again, go back to it. The only time a man is going to propose to you in a month is if he needs you to solve a problem for him. Same people don't do that. Well, we now know the problem was citizenship. Okay. Some people have asked, well, why didn't he ask Fallon to marry him for citizenship? Let me be very clear. This is a backup plan for Simon. All those times that I read to you in 2016, when he filed to get U.S. citizenship on his own without marriage. And then he tried again in 2022 and multiple other times, because when you file under marriage, you got to stay married. So when he was marrying people like Fallon, he's been married like 4 times. When he's marrying people like Fallon that maybe he didn't intend to stay married to, you don't want your U.S. citizenship tied to someone you don't intend to be married to. So that, I believe, is why he kept trying to get it on his own. Now, though, that he's realized, again, a week before his marriage to Porsha, they tell him, absolutely not, dodo bird. We done told Joe behind 11 times, you came here illegally, you committed crimes, and then you're staying illegally. We're not going to allow you to be a U.S. citizen. Take your behind on. You're not listening, okay? So once they did that a week before the wedding, he didn't tell Porsha nothing. Porsha did not find out about that for 15 months. When she did, she found out from the internet. I actually did a broadcast on that. You can check it out. I think it was back in February or January, one of the two. I can't remember, on this channel. You can search back. You'll see that. But here's the tea now. The other thing you always look for when somebody ain't got no citizenship and they're about to get deported anyway, they use a last resort. They claim that the other party hit him. He was claiming violence here in the marriage from Porsha, little old Porsha. Okay, now don't get me wrong. We seen Porsha be aggressive on the TV screen. Okay, so Porsha could probably stole on somebody. However, here the strategy is this. So when now he's down to his only way to stay in America is marriage. She's found out about the scam, so now she's filed for divorce. But there's one trick left. That is, U.S. law states that even if you are here illegally, there is only one way you can stay. And that is if you claim that your spouse has abused you. Even if you come illegally, that's the one way you can stay. And that is because for years upon years, men would get mail order brides, or they get a woman from Mexico, what have you. They bring her to the United States and abuse her. And then they bring her a lot of times illegally and abuse them. And then that person would be so fearful of deportation, they would never tell the police. So that's how come it has become law that if you report domestic violence, you then have the opportunity to obtain citizenship under specific laws that apply to domestic violence. You can do that. That, I believe, is what Simon had attempted to do when earlier this year, he filed documents claiming that Porsha came to the house with a man that had a weapon and was threatening him, blah, blah, blah. He tried to set that up. That failed too. Hit that like button, y'all. Hit that like and hit that subscribe. So where are we at now? Y'all, look at this foolishness. So this is the order. The judge ordered the following. The judge granted Porsha's motion to stop the husband's subpoena to True Entertainment. That was where the husband was trying to get her salary, all of her information. We'll get into that further. Secondly, the court granted the wife's motion for a protective order, meaning to protect her from his foolishness, from his attempts to get private information from her and share it with the media, which the court found. And the court also denies the husband's motion to obtain additional information on Porsha, on her salary, on her stuff. And it denied the emergency motion for contempt that the husband filed. He was ridiculous. And it awards the wife attorney's fees of litigation to be paid by Simon. Now we're going to get into this. Now it says the wife initiated the divorce. There we go. February 22nd of 2024. A month prior, January 11th, is when the court ordered Simon is not considered a U.S. citizen and effectively can be deported any day. Literally any day they could start deportation. They have not started to my knowledge, but they could do so any day. So then in March, it says that in March 22nd, because husband locked the wife and her minor daughter out of the home, the wife files a request for immediate and emergency relief. Just trifling. It's one thing to lock Porsha out, but you could have at least waited till baby girl was at Dennis's house eating hot dogs. Wait till she get to her daddy's house and eat some hot dogs before you pull some foolishness. Then it says the husband filed this motion the same day. Okay, let's go on down. It says the parties appeared for a status conference April 4th. It said this court entered its temporary order on May 26th, in pertinent part awarding the wife sole and exclusive control and possession of the marital residence and ordering the parties to exchange the Fulton County mandatory disclosures. That's where you have to, subject to a confidentiality agreement. Certain mandatory things like address of where you're living, could be bank account information, those types of things, so that people have an idea of, where the money is and where each person is located. The husband then serves the wife's employer a notice of a videotaped deposition. Y'all, this is huge because they had a prenup. The whole purpose of a prenup is to prevent having to go through what's called expensive discovery, meaning spending the cost of doing things like deposing your wife's employers. You have the prenup because you know all the information there is to know. The court then says on or about April 23rd, the wife serves the husband with her objections and response to notice. In other words, she served him with the document and said, I'm not giving you ish. No, you play too much. Leave me alone. Fast forward, True Entertainment, Porsha's employer, they served the husband with its objections, saying, we don't want to give you nothing legally. We don't have to give you nothing. Leave this. I ain't got nothing to do with this. Leave me out of this. We're just her employer. Okay. Then we go and move. The court has now made a determination, and I'm going to just give you some of the highlights of it. The court says, without making an adjudication, meaning a determination as it relates to the enforceability of the prenup as a whole, it's undisputed. The parties negotiated the prenup for at least a year after its execution. And they also say both sides had lawyers and everyone knew about everybody else's money. They knew the other side's money, their assets, their resources. Everybody had all the information that they needed to sign the prenup. So now Simon is trying to say the signing of the prenup was unfair. And the court is like, what is you talking about? You had a lawyer, she had a lawyer, and y'all took your time over the course of a year, goofy. The court said in this instance, the conundrum involves whether the prenup and its enforceability has to be addressed first, or if the alleged discovery, meaning his attempts to get this information on her salary, should go first. And it states that the court basically was like, no, you guys negotiated everything fairly. You don't need all this information. In fact, the court went on to specifically say that they believed Simon was not operating in goodwill, meaning in good faith, meaning he was doing this to harass her, to abuse her, to annoy her. Okay. Including, it says that, they had very competent lawyers over a year of length of time, and they included the exchange of financial disclosures, such that the issues of fraud, mistake, misrepresentation, and duress are clearly addressed in multiple provisions of the prenup. Down below, it says the court does not find merit in the husband's argument, as the court finds that the wife has been a reality TV celebrity. Oh my gosh. This is what Simon is claiming is the reason why he was deceived by Porsha. This fool really is going to go on and say, it says, husband argues that there were numerous misrepresentations by the wife. Specifically, Porsha stated that she would not work during the marriage, and that it was the party's intention that wife would be a homemaker and stay-at-home mom wife. Husband further argues that the wife desires to return to reality TV or employment in the future, which constitutes a non-disclosure of material facts and risk representation that renders the prenup unenforceable. Y'all, here's what this means in regular people. This fool is trying to say, set the prenup aside because we agreed that after getting married, Porsha wouldn't be on TV no more. She would just sit around and be my wife. Boy, if you don't shut up. Here's why I know that don't make any sense. Here's why it don't make any sense. Look at this. Look, you see this? These are all the different lawsuits. All the different lawsuits against Simon for not paying bills, owing people money. Over 14 of them. It's 4 pages. 4 pages worth. It was 32 of them, actually. It was 32 of them. All these different cases. Simon that doesn't even make sense. The court agreed. The court said that doesn't make sense. That Porsha would agree to just marry you and not be on TV, and that you're claiming that this was the fraud. Now, interestingly, remember after they did their little spinoff that was like them getting engaged, and Porsha was not on Real Housewives for that year. So it may have been, maybe there was the agreement to Simon, or maybe it was that the show itself did not invite her back under a contract that she liked. So Porsha said, I'm not coming back. Tell me what you think in the chat. Do you think, allegedly Simon's worth $30 million. Me and Tisa Tails don't believe that at all. Okay. Among other people. We don't, no. Specifically, what he is saying here is that he believes she defrauded him by going back to the show. And therefore, he wants the details of the contract with the show. Simon, you was lying. You are lying. And the court agreed. The court was like, this doesn't even make sense. When you married her, she was a reality show star. In fact, the two of you guys did a show together, and now you're claiming that is fraud, that she wants to go back on the show. You're grasping at straws here. And I believe the reason that he's trying so hard to fight this divorce, remember, they spent a whole year negotiating the prenup. I believe a large part of this is because he needs Porsha in this marriage for any shot at citizenship. Now, I still don't think it would work if they stayed married. But he doesn't necessarily know that it wouldn't work. I believe he's hanging on to this, and he's probably really trying to bait her into a physical altercation so that he can then claim domestic abuse and use that as grounds to stay in America. Secondly, the court said they looked over the contract. On this page, it says the standard for finding a contract to be unconscionable, which is what he said, is extremely high. Under Georgia law, an unconscionable contract is one abhorrent to the good morals and conscience, and is one where the parties take a fraudulent advantage of another. In other words, it's an agreement that no sane person not acting under a delusion would make, and no honest person would take advantage of. Okay, so basically they're saying this prenup was reasonable. So shut up, zip it. Specifically, the court then finds, it also says the court does not find merit in the husband's argument that the wife's reality TV employment is relevant to the issue of enforcing the prenup. And the court finds, it says the court finds that that basically he was not acting in good faith, that he was trying to harass her and wanting all this information. Now, this is some of the information he's asking for. He wants, number one, the status of her as a cast member. This is what he wants from Porsha's boss. He's asking, number one, for the status of Porsha as a cast member on The Real Housewives for not just the past, but also this year and next year. He wants details on the financial pay, income statements of Porsha for this year, like the past years, as well as into next year. He wants all communications between True Entertainment and Porsha Williams regarding Porsha's return as a cast member to The Real Housewives. And he wants communications between True Entertainment and Porsha, or any agent on her acting on her behalf. So anybody negotiating her deal, regarding her relationship with Simon, Porsha's divorce against Simon, recording, taping, blah, blah, blah. They want any documents, so any contracts, any drafts of contracts, blah, blah, blah. And they're asking True Entertainment to also provide all the contracts, amendments, memos of understanding and agreements, any and all financial documents, pay stubs, W-2s, 1099s that were issued to Porsha over the years from 2022 to the present, any and all communications regarding text, emails, written things between True Entertainment and Porsha. Baby, the court was like, we're not about to play with you. We're not about to play with you. Specifically, they said, quote, we believe that they were not propounded in good faith as required under the terms of the court's order, that they were solely, quote, propounded for the purpose of subjecting wife to annoyance, embarrassment, harassment, and undue burden. The court further finds that husband failed to make any meaningful efforts to maintain the confidentiality of the request, as evidenced by his filing the discovery request on the docket. Let me tell you, you never ever file discovery on the docket. You don't do that. The only time you would do that if there's like a motion to compel and you have to attach your request for that. He filed it on the docket because Simon is trying to try his case in the court of public opinion. He is trying to embarrass and harass and annoy this girl so that she drops the divorce, stays married to him, and maintains at least a sliver of a chance that he could stay in the Americas and not get deported and sent his waterbug tail back to Africa. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the summary of what's going on now with Porsha's case. I want to read any questions that y'all have. Somebody said, this is above my SVU law degree. How can he ask for anything? It's not legal. So the summary of what Simon was trying to do is he's asking for all this information on Porsha's contracts, and then he's feeding the information to the media. He's feeding it to the blogs through friends. He's feeding it to all of them. When in his main claim to set aside the prenup is that they agreed Porsha wouldn't go back on reality TV, and that she did. And by her going back on TV, Porsha has basically deceived him. Now, anybody knows and has watched this man knows this man is an attention whore. Whore. He's a whore. Okay? With a W. Okay. He loves all of this attention. And in fact, if you remember earlier this year, there was an issue because Simon did not want to allow any filming at the house, even though Porsha was awarded sole and exclusive rights to the house. So what's going on there? Yep. So what's going on there is some people had asked, is that legal? The answer is no. That is not about him sending a cease and desist to the network saying you can't film in my house. Hogwash, throw it in the trash. It's not worth the paper it's printed on. But here's the thing about third parties like TV networks. They don't want to walk into a lawsuit. They got better things to do with their time, their money, and their legal resources. So in turn, they just simply did not film at the house. It's frustrating for Porsha because it's going to be an inconvenience to her. She's not able to tell her story in her environment, blah, 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 blah. But this is what happens when you get engaged in 1 month to someone you don't know who appears to be a scammer. There's no way that someone who wants to marry you in 1 month is doing it for the right reasons at our big O ages. I'll say that. Now I could see somebody at like 21 or 24, first love, they're kind of slow, they're a little cuckoo. Your brain's not all the way developed if you're a boy and you're 21 years old, whatever. But let's remember this is his fourth or fifth marriage. Okay. So he's not really that good at them. But the other thing too here is that they took a whole year to negotiate the terms of the prenup. In that year, that was an opportunity to find out or try to do more digging on what was really going on. What are his true resources? And it appears that here Porsha did that because it states in these court documents that they exchanged amongst each other financial statements, this, that, and the third, that would have given her So basically, you cannot have a valid prenup without showing the other party all of your assets first. Right? You have to show them all your bank statements so that they have an idea. Do you make 1 million or do you make 10? And here's why. Because if you're agreeing to a prenup that says, let's say you agree to a prenup that says, if you guys are married 1 year, at the end of that 1 year, he's going to give you $500 a month for 6 months to get on your feet. And you do that based on your thinking, oh, he only makes $100,000 a year, right? But if he really makes 100 million, that's considered not reasonable because he hasn't told you the truth about his financials. If he tells you he makes 100K and he really makes 100,000, you won't have the ability to have what's called informed consent. You don't have all the information that you need to be informed onto what's going on. So that's why that's a problem. But more importantly here, what I think is going on is I would not be surprised if Simon doesn't actually have the money that he's been pretending to have. I think that Simon likely is trying to get her to step away from the prenup due to the fact that he probably doesn't have all the money that was supposed to be promised to her for leaving because he wasn't expecting her to go nowhere. So by him trying to invalidate it, that is one way for him to not have to recognize and admit he ain't got no money. He don't got that kind of money. And it doesn't appear, allegedly, it doesn't appear that all the money in America, his American money, is from legal venues. So then what? If you got to use illegal money to satisfy the alimony and whatever is listed in the prenup, it's not just going to be Porsha on that behind. It's going to be the IRS too. So ladies and gentlemen, that's kind of the summary of what's going on there. With Porsha. Let me see a few comments. And we didn't have any callers in this week. So I think we had someone that came in earlier, but yeah, we didn't have any callers this week. So we will make sure next week to do a call in. I know this was a bit long. It says Simon is giving Porsha monopoly money for the divorce settlement. Yeah. Simon's previous wife was on the show. Yep. Fallon. Actually, I pulled some of their divorce records too. I'm going to take a look at those this week and see if there's anything juicy that we might want to go over there. 1 month, red flag all day. What assets does Simon own? So those weren't attached to any of the court documents I've reviewed, but baby, you best believe if I find them, I will be sharing them. Porsha planned this. She's no better than Simon. Hey, in this reality TV game, I wouldn't be surprised. Somebody said, what's her tax filing going to look like? I don't know. She just wants the house. Exactly. Which is tricky because if he owned that house beforehand and they had a prenup, it's unlikely that the prenup is going to give her the house. We'll see. We'll know by the end of this whole divorce debacle, but it's unlikely that a prenup is going to give someone for that short amount of time of marriage. That marriage before filing was only 15 months, that it would give her a home that man has owned for years prior to them. More than likely, it would instead give her some type of a allowance, something like that, and perhaps state that he's got it paid for, or allow her to stay in that home maybe 2 years rent free or however long, because the current order states she gets exclusive use of the home, meaning he's got to get the hell out of there, and has. Yes, he has multiple judgments. So remember, I'm going to put this back on the screen. Tiffany said, I saw his company just got a judgment from a private jet company for $800K. Yeah, I don't think he got it. He ain't got it. He ain't got no money. I don't think he's got it, y'all. And here's why. These are all, let me start at the beginning. I just did a search. This is in one county. This is only in one county in the United States. There's thousands and thousands of counties in the United States. This is one county. This man has 4 pages worth of lawsuits. Okay. He's not good at paying his bills. He's not good at staying married. He's not good at being faithful. And he looks like a water bug. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining this episode of Girl, Is That Legal? Hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that notification button. I'll see you later in the week.